Hey guys, okay, so today we're going to talk about the one, the only, Robin Williams. Hey guys, Victoria Paxton here. Thanks for stopping back by my YouTube channel. Okay, couple things really quickly. Like, subscribe, share, hit that notification bell. Okay, so hubby is trying different lighting and different stuff, so. All right, let me preface this by saying on my Friday Night Live, I said 2 weeks ago, I said I was going to do Robin Williams, and I got a direct message from someone who said, oh, well, before you even do your video, let me just tell you that this other psychic said A, B, and C. Let me just say that I get what I get. Yeah, I get what I get. Okay, so, okay, guys, so it's Sunday. Happy Sunday. Hope everybody's good. Let's get started. Robin McLaurin Williams, love that middle name, by the way, was born on July 21st, 1951 in Chicago, Illinois. He was best known for his improvisational skills and a wide variety of voices. And he's regarded as one of the best comedians of all time. I would agree with that. Robin was married to Susan Schneider at the time of his death in August of 2014 at the age of 63. I'm sorry, August 11th, 2014. Williams committed suicide. Okay, so Robin came through. I was able to connect. He was very young, like young as in when he was on Mork and Mindy, right? He was insanely shy, like insanely shy. And you wouldn't think that because he was such a good comedian and he was so outgoing and out there. You wouldn't think that, but he was so shy, y'all. Told him I wanted to speak with him. We talked about his wife. We talked about his kids. Let me preface this by saying he talked about his family, okay? That includes friends, specific people, grandbaby, specific people, okay? And I will say this, he spoke a lot about his first wife as well. Susan Schneider was his third wife, the one he was married to when he passed. Okay, so he brought up, I asked him about his illness, and he said that July and August of 2013, he knew then something was wrong. And he said he didn't bring it up to his wife at that time. He didn't bring it up to anybody at the time, but he knew something wasn't right. He said he was catching himself like, he would just all of a sudden be fixated on staring, or he said like everything, that was going on around him would drown out and he was just like focused on nothing. That's how he described it. And he said, he didn't want to bother his wife. He thought maybe he was just, oh, maybe it's just I'm getting older, I'm having a bad day, whatever. But he said, continually it built and added on. You know what I mean? I don't know the right word there. So he was talking about, he was filming a movie, and he said that he was always really good. If he forgot any of his lines, he would just improv it, and usually it came out really well. He said at this point in his life, he wasn't able to do that anymore. He said, not only was I not able to do that, I was barely able to get my lines out. And he said, that just wasn't him. He had always been able to act and he was always good at it. And he said, he was just noticing more and more that he was losing all that. And he said, that was his life, you know? He said, my wife, my kids, my job, my career, that was my life, and he said he felt himself slipping and he really became concerned. And he said it was probably 4 months prior to his death is when he became deeply concerned that there was something severe wrong with him. Okay, so he was talking about he had gotten to the point that on most days, he didn't even want to like go out. He didn't want to go participate in comedy clubs. He didn't want to hang with his buddies. He didn't want to ride his bike. He didn't want to take a walk. He didn't want to leave his house. He said there was just like this phobia or fear. Yeah, that's how he said it. Okay, so he talked a little bit about when he was diagnosed with Parkinson's. He said that he knew about Parkinson's, but that he didn't have anyone extremely close to him that he had actually watched suffer from Parkinson's. But a friend of his, he said a friend of his had a famous friend who had Parkinson's. And he started asking specific questions like, how long did it take for this to happen? How long, he was like just riddling his friend with questions. And he said, he was just afraid that his life was just slipping away. And he said, now that he had a diagnosis, he said it all just became really final at that point. I asked him about being suicidal and taking his own life, right? Everything that led up to the end. And he said, let me start by saying that I suffered from depression for many years of my life. He went on to talk about drug abuse and depression. And he said there were many times when in his mind he would play out how he was going to kill himself. But he said he never did it. He just couldn't do that to his kids. He said that was his biggest thing, was no matter how hard it got, no matter how depressed he was, he couldn't do that to his kids. So I said, but you ultimately did do that. Okay. And let me explain what he had to say. He said after he was diagnosed, everything became final. And he said, so he had more times during the day where he was out of it than when he was in touch with reality. And it scared him, as it would scare any of us. He said he knew there was going to come a day when he was going to die from this. So when he was in his right mind, he tried to plan accordingly. But he said that didn't work out because he wasn't in his right mind very often. And he said after he died, he didn't know what had happened. He didn't know that he was dead. He didn't know that he took his own life. He said, the realization when he realized that, whoa, I'm not in my body. Whoa, I hung myself. He said it just devastated him. He said it just devastated me. He said because he never would ever want to do that to his kids or his wife. He spoke very highly of his first wife. He said he would always love her. That was another thing that I think I forgot to mention earlier. But he said he was just dumbfounded when he discovered that he had committed suicide, because he said, no way, I would never do that, And he said, I don't remember doing that. He said, I remember everything that led up to that point. He said, I remember getting my iPad. I remember saying goodnight to my wife. I remember going into my room, and I don't know what the hell happened after that. And so who am I to judge? Like, yeah, you know what I mean? He insists he does not remember doing that he would never do that. He said there were so many times in his past they was so depressed and so distraught that he just wanted to take his own life and be dead. And he said, but he could never get to that point because of his kids. He's like, I could never hurt my kids like that. So he says to this day, he doesn't know how he hung himself, which is scary. I mean, it's really scary, really scary. Okay, so he went on to say another thing that was like a deep concern and fear of his. He said, I wasn't religious by any means, um, but I always had this fear that if I killed myself, I would go straight to hell. And he's like, and who in the heck wants to live in hell, right? That's what he said. So, yeah, I felt, so bad for him because he honestly just didn't know he was dead. Like, he didn't know what happened. He didn't know he had done that. And I said to him, did you find out that you had been misdiagnosed? And he said, yeah, about 3 years after I had passed, I saw or heard something about it, that he had Lewy body dementia. And he said, it makes a lot of sense. He said, Parkinson's just didn't make sense because I was just so out of it as far as my thought process and my thinking. He said, I just got to where I couldn't think right the majority of the time. And he said, Parkinson's didn't make sense to me. So yeah. And then he was gone. So yeah, I don't know what to think about that. You know what I mean? Like, that's so scary. Yeah. I guess subconsciously he wanted to go. He felt like he was losing it and he wanted to go, and that's what happened. So, yeah. Just extremely shy guy, though. But he was kind of funny. Um, all right, guys, be nice, be kind, stay safe, stay healthy. Oh, there's my puppy running in. Stay healthy. Um, we'll get through this together. That about does it for me. Bye, guys.